Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian, and this is the Live and Invest Overseas podcast. Today, we're going to talk about where to buy real estate in 2022, the best places to buy real estate this year, and why. So most people think that buying real estate overseas is just about having a vacation home that they'll visit once a year, or maybe a retirement home, buying, much farther down the line and using it as their retirement locale. But there are so many more reasons to buy real estate overseas. You could rent it out for the cash flow, possibly in another currency, possibly in your own. So for example, if you own some place here in Europe and you rented it out here in Europe, you'd be earning you would be earning income in euros, the local currency, which would mean you would have a nice little nest egg of euros to use when you come over here, and you wouldn't have to worry about exchange rates and paying for money wire transfers and all that. So it can be a really great thing to own property overseas and to earn in a currency that you might be operating in for part of the year. It's also a way to store wealth privately, because real estate is one of the few assets that is not reportable to the IRS. So if privacy matters to you, you can stash a bunch of your wealth in a property overseas and nobody would ever really know about it unless you told them about it. It's also the security of owning a hard asset. So, stocks come and go, or rather they rise and they fall. Other investment types can come and go, but real estate is something that really exists. You can go put your feet on it. You can go plant a tomato on it and eat your own salads. You can build your own house on it and live on it. So, land has a real intrinsic value as a hard asset. And it's, one of the ways that people have made the most money over the past several hundred years. You could also cash in on the world's current agricultural boom. Of course, there are always more mouths to feed and fewer land to grow food on. So this is a great way to look at long-term cash flow and preservation of wealth through generations by investing in agriculture that puts off an annual or a quarterly income. It can also open the doors to overseas residency. So many countries offer some kind of residency possibility or a citizenship possibility, where if you buy real estate for a certain minimum value, they will afford you the opportunity to live and sometimes become a citizen in their country. So great way to get your foot in the door overseas, especially if you're thinking about things beyond investment, like having a backup residency or a backup passport. Its true value, though, for us at Live and Invest Overseas is the level of investment diversification. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, obviously you're not in a great position investment-wise. And whether that basket is stocks or real estate all in one country, or whatever it may be, the best thing to do is to just move a little bit further away from your comfort zone, or rather from your home, I guess. So by, looking overseas, you're diversifying. As I said, it could be out of the currency that you're living in. You could be diversifying into another currency, but also into a new market, new government, new geography, new political situation. So all of these things are things to look at when you're looking at investing overseas. But the diversification is really the key for us, because you don't want to you don't want to keep all your eggs in that same basket. Finding where in the world suits you, though, can be quite intimidating. It's a big world out there, and how do you know what you should invest in, what's a good deal, where to look? The world is full of opportunity, but every country is different and every market is different. So what do we at Live and Invest Overseas think for this year? Here is our list of top investment choices for 2022. Number one is Mexico. So the proximity and familiarity to North America and the United States is its big selling point. All you even need to do is drive across the border in some cases. If you own property here and it happened to be on the West Coast, right near California or Arizona or even Texas, you could own something right across the border and be able to drive to it. A lot of people divide their time between Mexico and North America, be it Canada or the United States. And these folks, who we call snowbirders, they fly away from the snow. They don't even need to formalize residency in Mexico, because Mexico will let them stay for up to 6 months at a time without doing anything beyond their tourist visa. So you can own property and still spend 6 months of the year in that property in Mexico without ever paying for residency or going through the hassle of formalizing your stay. You can just get your tourist visa and your passport and head across the border. The lifestyle options in Mexico are vast and varied, from, Spanish colonial cities or villages to absolutely pristine coastlines and the beaches that the country is so famous for, both on the Pacific and the Atlantic coasts. So lots of lifestyle choices. It's one of the most popular overseas havens for North Americans especially, and it's for all these reasons. Plus, at the moment, and this is really why it tops our list for this year right now, is that you can get a huge, what we call a currency discount by buying right now. So the strength of the US dollar against many of the world's currencies this year, and it's been a continuing trend for the past 5 to 7 years in most countries, means that you can lock down huge savings. Tens of thousands of dollars can be saved just because of the beneficial currency exchange rate right now. Whereas something that you might have bought 10 years ago would cost several times more than it would cost today. Same price, 100,000 euro property in France is still 100,000 euro property. But if you have to pay 135,000 for it because of the exchange rate, that's a lot more than, say, 107,000, which is roughly what the exchange is looking at right now. Number 2 is Belize. Belize is interesting because it is an English-speaking Caribbean nation. Enjoy its rainforests, its waterfalls, its wide open spaces, but also its white sand beaches, its coral reef, Mayan ruins, rivers, just basically anything in nature that you can imagine. Belize has it in spades. And a very affordable property market from coast to coast. So Belize does have a mainland as well as, technically an island, San Pedro Island. It's a bit of a key over there. Ambergris Key is it's also called. So the prices on the islands and Ambergris Key and the other keys are going to be always a little bit higher than on the mainland because it's a Caribbean island. You're living on a postcard with palm trees swaying around the white sand beaches, and they are more developed, and these are the more popular places. So you will pay more if you're going to where the expats have already been flocking for decades now. But for sure on the mainland, there are still many, many deals to be had. And another interesting thing about Belize is that the Belizean dollar is pegged 2 to 1 to the US dollar. So there's, again, no currency exchange risk here, as in our next country that I'm going to talk about, Panama. And there is no currency exchange risk here. So while, yes, you're getting a discount in Mexico, there's still also that chance that the peso soars and the dollar plummets, and then you're in the reverse situation. So while, currency exchange can mean a great big discount, it can also work against you. So when you have a jurisdiction that uses the same currency or pegs their currency to that you're using, it means that there is an inherent security there, but less diversification. So these are things that we always have to weigh the odds of. So Panama, as I said, is next. Panama uses the US dollar. So you can get off the plane from the US and use exactly the same money that was in your wallet back home. Panama does coin some of their own coins, but they still accept US quarters. So for example, quarters, dimes, I think pennies too. You'll see Panamanian versions of those coins circulated in Panama. They will be refused back home. If you accidentally give one of those Panamanian quarters at a shop, they'll most likely tell you it's Canadian and to get out of here. But in Panama, you can use both the American minted and the Panamanian minted coins. Again, this means that there's absolutely no currency risk. You're coming into a market that uses the exact same currency, so you're never going to have to worry about the dollar moving one way or the other against local currency. And Panama really shines among all of the countries we talk about because we consider it number one when considering lifestyle, investment, and retirement all in one package. So, we consider Portugal the world's retirement haven. Not necessarily the biggest offshore haven, but definitely a lifestyle haven or a retirement haven. The Dominican Republic is a great offshore haven. There are all these jurisdictions that we talk about being beneficial. Belize is also an offshore haven for things like banking or getting a residency or a backup passport, a second passport. All of these things that we talk about here at Live and Invest Overseas. And Panama really sums them all up. It puts them all together and gives you this great package from the great banking system to the robust investment market, to great residency and citizenship packages, to the lifestyle and the retirement and the on-the-ground joys of living there. So really, Panama delivers as much as you could want out of a haven. Panama City is, of course, the much more developed capital of the country. Real estate there is going to be more expensive. perspective, there are still definitely gains to be made in Panama City, but the gains that people who got in 20 years ago, for example, nobody is going to see those gains anymore. That was a flash in the pan kind of an opportunity that we are seeing replicated elsewhere in the world, but no longer in Panama, at least on this strip of the coast. Maybe other parts of the coast will see that much appreciation over the next 20 years, but not Panama City anymore, I wouldn't think anyway. So when it comes to investing in Panama, do go look outside the city, find what part of the country speaks to you personally, but pay attention to what we call the path of progress and where the markets are moving, because Panama can be a place to make lots and lots of money on capital appreciation, as well as on short-term rentals or long-term rentals in the meantime. Number 4 is the Dominican Republic, which, especially its capital, is becoming more and more popular. The beaches of the Dominican Republic have long been popular, especially more so, in fact, with Europeans rather than North Americans. But increasingly, the Dominican Republic is being discovered by North Americans, and especially the capital, Santo Domingo, is people are realizing the beauties of this colonial city because it offers such a high standard of luxury living for being a Caribbean city. So you can, the fine dining, the entertainment, the level of lifestyle that you can live in Santo Domingo is a notch above what most Caribbean countries can offer. It's a really picturesque Caribbean city, but as I said, it is the capital, which means it is the economic and financial hub. And so things are going to be more expensive there than they are in other parts of the country, though not necessarily to say more expensive than the beaches, which are very well developed around most of the country. One of our favorite beaches here is called Las Serenas. It's a little beach town, and it has gone under the radar for the past several years as the rest of the country has been more developed and more invested in. So it's still one of our favorite places to put down some money and see some rental income in the meantime, but also some serious capital appreciation. Plus, as I said, the DR, I mentioned this earlier, the DR is a offshore haven. And the reason we call it that specifically in this case is because they offer some of the world's best residency and citizenship programs. So something to look into if you are looking for another passport or another, a secondary home, a plan B home. Number 5 is Montenegro. Arguably the most affordable haven in Europe. I won't fault you if you can't place it on a map. It is an Adriatic country nestled between Croatia and Albania. So very small, tiny country with a tiny capital, but boy, does it play above its weight, fight above its weight. It's just 500,000 people and about 2,000 square miles, which is smaller than Rhode Island, but it has so much to offer, from nature to its just fairy tale capital city, Kotor. It's already been popular with the British for, many years, decades, really. It's been more known in Europe, but it is still a pretty under the radar haven, even in Europe. And North Americans certainly, I don't think are know much about it or are paying it much attention. So if you want to get in now on the ground floor before most North Americans do start to discover it, now is the time. And this is another country where you'll discover a wonderful discount on the currency exchange, because the euro has been weakening against the dollar for the past few months. And right now it is at one of its historic 20-year lows, or it has been in the past few weeks anyway. And now is a great time to be buying in Europe. If you're looking at bringing over some dollars, converting them to euros, now is the best time to do it in a long time. Believe me, I based here in Paris. I am definitely looking every day. My husband and I are tracking the rate day by day. And when it gets below a certain point, we move a bunch of money over to take advantage of that rate. Colombia is number 6. Colombia has had a stigma in the past. It's gone through its share of troubles, but it has been emerging in the past 10 years or so as a very popular expat and investor haven. It is the 3rd largest economy in South America, so it's nothing to be sniffed at. It's no banana republic. It's not a struggling little country. It is a robust modern country with top-notch healthcare and really impressive lifestyles from coast to coast. It has its Pacific coast as well as its Caribbean coast, and lots of mountains in the middle, some great coffee land in there as well, if that's of interest to you. Great variety of lifestyles to suit most wants and needs. And another great place to take advantage of a currency discount. The Colombian peso has long been very, very weak against the US dollar. So great time to be buying Colombian pesos. It won't last forever. It has been a kind of long-term trend, but you never want to count on these things lasting very long. Argentina is number 7. It's a friendly and welcoming country. And while most people are looking at Buenos Aires, which is definitely a wonderful investor market, or Patagonia, perhaps, or Mendoza, I would recommend looking at the province of Jujuy, which is just now kind of being discovered. So it's another way to get ahead of the pack when it comes to investment trends. Tilcara is a city in the province that's located about 2,500 meters above sea level. It's in the northwest of Argentina, and it's surrounded by mountains. It's got a very rich Aboriginal architectural and cultural heritage, and it's an increasingly popular tourist destination. So if you are looking for some place and you want to be ahead of that curve, this is one of these places that is up and coming. Again, Argentina's peso is weak against the dollar, so another great place for a currency discount right now. Number 8 is Malta, and our final two places are also really great currency discounts because they both use the euro. So right now, again, this won't last. The euro is not on as long-term of a trend as some of these other pesos, the Colombian peso, the Argentine peso. Those have been really steady trends. The euro is much more volatile, and it has been significantly higher in the past 12 months even. So if you are looking to buy in Europe, don't sit on the fence about it. If you've been waiting to pull the trigger for a while, this is the moment. The euro is only going to go up from here. So again, one of our other European havens, we already mentioned Montenegro. Now I'm talking about Malta, which is a grouping of 3 islands in the Mediterranean. Malta is the biggest island and also the name of the entire archipelago. And Malta, like Montenegro, is another longtime British favorite. In fact, I think Malta is more well-known than Montenegro even, but it is actually an English-speaking haven. English is one of the official languages, and it's got a very mild year-round climate. It does get pretty hot in the summer, but the winters, I should say, are very mild. And it's one of the easiest and the cheapest residencies to achieve in Europe. And Europe residency and citizenship can be quite expensive. So Malta stands out as a very affordable haven for residency. Again, you've got that currency discount. The fact that they are English speaking makes the whole process a whole lot less intimidating. So the fact that your contracts, for example, will be in English, you won't need to hire a translator or make sure that your lawyer speaks both languages equally well, whether it's English and Spanish or English and French or whatever. You take that entire factor out of the equation, which is a nice way to ease into things if you're a little bit more wary about making an overseas investment. And Malta is a great place to just to own anything. I love Malta. It's a country close to my heart. I would love to eventually own some kind of an investment home in Malta. If you're looking for the really good values, though, head off of Malta Island and up to Gozo Island, which is a lot less populated, a lot less visited by tourists, a lot less populated by expats, but the prices are just slashed. They are probably half the costs of the main island. And I'm talking about both lifestyle and the cost of real estate. So you could own a significant amount of land even on Gozo, which is a less developed island and a more agricultural, rural kind of lifestyle. So it's a good place where you could own some farmland if you're interested in that. And Gozo for sure is, as I said, less developed, but also less visited. So you would be on a little bit of you'd be a little bit more ahead of the curve on Gozo than you would be on Malta. Finally, we have number 9, Portugal, which, as I said a while ago, is our number 1 retirement haven in the world, with thousands of Brits already owning homes here. In fact, there was a prediction that after Brexit, many of the British who had not been formally resident in Portugal, who had just been, taking advantage of the fact that they could stay as long as they wanted, being part of the EU, a lot of people expected that they would sell their homes and that there would be a kind of drop in prices because the market would be flooded with all these foreigner-owned homes. In fact, the opposite happened. Instead of leaving, the Brits said, nope, we're not going back to Britain. We'll formalize our residency and stay right here in Portugal. Thank you very much. So there has been no Brexit Brexit currency, Brexit discount, if you want to look at it that way. But you do still take advantage of that European discount right now. If you have dollars or Canadian dollars against the euro, they are much stronger. And there is a significant value to be had all over Portugal, from the north to the Algarve in the south, which we've talked about a lot, to the Lisbon, the capital city. Tons of wonderful property options and at affordable prices that you are almost guaranteed to see good returns on, as well as good capital appreciation on. And again, this is another way to get into this country's residency or citizenship programs. So if you are looking to make an investment and are looking also to live in Portugal for any part of the year, now or in the future, look into the golden visa options, which require minimum investments in certain parts of the country that need development. But if those parts of the country are of interest to you, it's a great way to package your residency with European citizenship. So there you have it. Those are our 9 top investment markets for 2022. And if you are looking to invest this year, I wish you luck and happy trails.